This library instruction session is titled Fake News, and it explores what is it, how do we spot it, what can we do about it. I'm Grace Bennett, and the session was written for LS 5263, Information Sources and Services, July 21st, 2021. This community college library fake news instruction session is intended for the community college student audience. The learning outcomes: students will apply provided information accuracy and fact-checking strategies in their research. The assessment plan: the instruction librarian, myself, will follow up with professors after midterms and finals to confirm that students successfully evaluated current events articles and class projects. Email will include brief 3-question questionnaire ratings for fake versus accurate news source usage on a scale from 1 to 5. First, what is fake news? You may have seen fake news under other terms, such as the following, which have to do with news media: news satire, yellow journalism, junk news, pseudo-news, hoax news, propaganda news, and advertorial news, or information distributed over cyberspace, such as false information, fake information, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, or alternative fact. All of these tend to fall under the umbrella of fake news. One famous example of fake news: you may have heard of the prank that Orson Welles played on his 1938 radio audience during the War of the Worlds, which is a story about Martians invading Earth. According to the myth, there was nationwide hysteria resulting from his realistic portrayal, people assuming that Martians were invading all over the nation, distress. However, while there was some brief localized panic in New York City, this was exponentially exaggerated by the press. Some theorize that the myth persists because it so perfectly captures our unease with the media's power over our lives. One more recent example of fake news. Multiple incidences of fake news were widely circulated on social media regarding 2017's Hurricane Irma, including Alex Jones of InfoWars, with his 750,000 followers, posted "Irma, strongest hurricane, recorded Category 6. That post was shared by 2 million plus people. However, 6 is not a hurricane category. It does not even exist. A doctored video of Miami Airport underwater was shared 40,000 times, even by the White House, before it was corrected by the airport itself. Video of the wrong storm was shared 28 million times, showing a 2007 double tornado headed directly for the Florida coast. A post advising evacuees to hide their water-sensitive valuables in their dishwashers for watertight safety was shared 1.2 million times. Unfortunately, dishwashers do not stay watertight during flooding. Where does fake news come from? One origin is through bot accounts. A Carnegie Mellon University study examined 200 million tweets regarding COVID-19 in May 2020 and found that 82% of the 50 most influential retweeters were actually bots, and 62% of the top 1,000 retweeters were also bots. Those tweets revolved around more than 100 types of inaccurate stories that included unfounded conspiracy theories regarding the virus and phony cures for the virus. Continuing with origins of fake news, it can be pushed through fake accounts and bots. However, fake news is often not completely fabricated. It can be distorted facts, biased language. It can be intentional and unintentional. False information means it is incorrect. Fake information, also incorrect. Disinformation is deliberately spread fake news to influence public opinion. Malinformation is fake news used to hurt others. Alternative fact is a misstatement of real fact. Post-truth is a political concept, the disappearance of shared objective standards, messages considered as false by scientific inquiries. More on where does fake news come from. The term itself became notorious during the 2016 elections, and while the last slide's definition breakdowns are all relevant, the focus of the term fake news is the incorrect information contained in news reports. Wang's research also notes that conspirators purposefully create and deliver fake news with ulterior motives to manipulate the thought patterns of the populations they are targeting, ironically, often about conspiracy theories. Now you may be asking yourself, how does fake news affect college students? According to Joslet in 2020, the past decade plus of fake news has legitimized a relation to information that is viral rather than evidence-based. It has introduced a crisis of authorization. This has taken the term question authority to extremes. For if we lack the means to distinguish levels of authority, we are vulnerable to having lies fed to us, and if they confirm our biases, believe them regardless of their source. Still on how fake news affects college students, according to the Austin Community College, many believe fake news. This creates confusion on what is real and not real, what is truth and what is manipulation. And this is especially important in regards to social and political issues. Fake news can also affect your grades as professors grade down for incorrect information. Fake news can harm your health. It can cause folk to make unsafe decisions regarding health issues and treatment. Fake news also makes it harder to see the truth. A Pew Research study found that fake news is driving folk toward polarization, leading them to drop social relationships and to consume less balanced information. Fake news is also resulting in college students questioning all news, not knowing what to trust or believe. Out of 6,000 college-age students surveyed recently, 50,000 lacked the confidence in their own discernment abilities regarding news, and 36 mistrust all media due to rampant misinformation. A 2016 Stanford study found that from a pool of 7,800 students, none were able to consistently determine the credibility of online news sources. However, another more encouraging study analyzed the Twitter accounts of 135,000 students from 11 major American universities over the period of a year, and found that many cross-referenced their news consumption for credibility. This quote from Mike Caulfield sums up the story. Students feel overwhelmed and disempowered. They want to live to a standard of truthfulness that they feel has been made impossible by the fire hose. They tend to overestimate the amount of fake news that reaches them and are alternately gullible and cynical. Students do care about truthful news. It's just that the current media ecosystem makes it hard for them to determine what that looks like. What can we do about fake news? Well, 4 simple tips that can help clarify your news are: 1. Pause. Don't let your emotions take over. 2. Glance through the comments. Has someone replied to this with a fact check? 3. Do a quick search. In the search bar, turn the claim you're checking into a question. Look for credible sources in the results. 4. Ask for the source. Reply to the person who shared the post, asking for the original source or for other evidence supporting the claim. Raising this where others can see it lets them know that the claim is questionable. Other things you can do about fake news. The fact-checking site Snopes.com also suggests keeping these 6 red flags in mind for responsible use of news and social media sharing. Number 1, date check. Check the date of the post or photo. If it's outdated, it may no longer be valid. 2, echo chamber. Corroborate the veracity of the post by checking whether all the posts are coming from the same source. That is an indication that it may be a bot or something else that's a little suspicious. 3, history of violence. Does the source have a history of other red flag stories that seem outrageous or have been proven wrong? 4, deception in the details. Watch for clues to spoof domains. Example, if the URL ends in .co or .info, sometimes fake stories will use real news sources as their domain name, and it might be something along the lines of, say, www.washingtonpost.info rather than .com. 5, picture dis. Uses convincing photos as an influence. So they're kind of trying to get you emotionally involved with this picture to the point where you're not going to actually consider the story appropriately. 6, where in the world? Consider the geography source, the language, and the cultural barriers. Another active way to consider fake news is the scientific process. It also applies to communication. Observe the news, research it, maybe bring about your own little hypothesis and test it with an experiment. Analyze the data you see. Report the conclusions to yourself. Keep these red flags in mind for responsible social media use. If the argument is not grounded, merely asserted and repeated as fact, it's likely some form of conspiracy theory. Beware of headlines that trigger strong emotions. Step back and evaluate, because that anger, outrage, and fear can get your attention. Steer clear of clickbait during mindless scrolling. Look out for drama and sound bites that may be incorrect and another form of fake news. Some useful websites for fact-checking. You can check these examples from the library at Benedictine University of real-life fake news and credible news sites. Snopes is also one of the easiest and most user-friendly fact-checking sites on the internet. And always remember that the safest way to choose and cite peer-reviewed and fact-checked articles for schoolwork is through your college or university library. In conclusion, always remember the oldest and best advice. Look at the source of the news for their track record for honesty. This works for social media shares as well as school rumors. Watch your spectrum of media consumption and keep it balanced for appropriate and realistic perspective. In the data smog of social media, fake news tends to present as opposition, conflict, especially in spaces where social integration is already low. When communicating regarding red flag issues and fake news, consider your audience. Instead of destroying them with facts and the need to be right and to prove them wrong, help others discover the facts for themselves. Cite your sources and give them the opportunity to read for themselves. Be generous and see these topics as a teaching opportunity rather than attack-worthy. The internet is an amazing place because we all have a voice. It's our responsibility to be sure we use it effectively and in a socially conscious manner.